Welcome once again. It's a big privilege to be once again with all of you. And we have one of the most important filmmakers, according to myself, in the Latin American landscape, whose name is Kiro Russo. It's the second time that he is in Hamburg. He has been before with Viejo Calavera, which was his previous film. And now here we have the El Gran Movimiento, that for me is one of the most outstanding films of this year, not from Latin America, from the whole 2021 films around the world. Thank you so much for being here, Kiro. It's a privilege once again. And thank you for your film, first of all.
Thank you very much, dear friends, for your invitation. I'm very happy to be part again of Hamburg Film Festival. It's a really great festival. I'm really sad that I'm not able to be there with you, but thank you for sharing the movie with all of you.
The first thing that I would like to ask you is about the title of the film in Spanish, El Gran Movimiento, because it could be read from many different angles. There are obvious ones, but some others maybe are not. So why you have chosen that title for the film?
For me, maybe the thing that I less like of this movie is the title. It's very difficult to put a title. First, the movie was told Loba, she-wolf, no? But in that time, when I put that title, it was because the movie was very different. What happened with the movie is that at the beginning, I have a very fictional story that has some elements from the story that you will see now or you have seen. But the other half, it's gone because it was too fictional for me. And I am so I have a big commitment with my friends from Wanuni, from the mines, and some other people from the city, like Max, who's one of the most important characters in the movie, that I decide to change progressively some things that were not working. And in the end, El Gran Movimiento for me, it's because there are many great movements, grandes movimientos inside the movie. And I thought that there are so many representations of this movement inside the plot, in the formal side of the movie, also in the will of make a representation of the system of a city from La Paz, Bolivia in 2020. For me, was very interesting because it's a kind of cinematographic dialogue with the symphonies of the city, but when from a very different perspective, no? Because we're talking that we're doing this 100 years after the genre was done in the 20s. And I think in that time, the futurists like Bertov were thinking that this modernism is like the biggest, thing in the moment, no? But for me, it's very important to make this portrait from La Paz, a very opposite kind of city, we can say, because for me, La Paz and Bolivia in general is all the times coexisting in this era, and people from the ancient world also, and indigenous and modernism and everything together. And for me, was like this movement was the thing to give the title. But it's not the best for me, the title. Maybe.
No, but I think it's a polysemic title in certain ways, and I think it works pretty well. In certain moments, I thought that you maybe were a kind of, not theoretically, but maybe a kind of dialogue in friction even with Mr. Sanginés, with the idea of how he understood the plano secuencia, I don't know how to say that in English, the long shot, integral long shot, which was an idea of movement among the space of the shot itself, in order to understand what was the feeling of community. That was his idea when we are talking about Sanginés, who is one of the most important Bolivian filmmakers. And certain moment I had that kind of feeling, but maybe it's not, maybe it's just an over-interpretation from my side.
Very interesting interpretation, Roger, because I never thought about it, but it could be also. For me, in fact, the other representation of movement, talking about movement, El Gran Movimiento, it's because here politically in Bolivia, the word movement, movimiento, it's very, and has been also important and very dark too. Because in MNR, who is a supposed left-wing party of 80s in Bolivia has a very big slogan about not the great movement, but the movement, no? And I think great movement has a lot of political connotations also here in Bolivia.
Can you contextualize a little bit more about what is the off-screen political background that the film is around?
As I told you before, I changed the script from the beginning. I started to write this in 2016 after Viejo Calavera, like 2 months after. But many things happened, and one of the most, important things that happened to me that was affecting to me was that, in fact, the scene that you said, obviously, is documentary, a kind of documentary, because one day I was walking through the streets and Julio Cesar Ticona, who's the main character in Dark School, Olivo Viejo Calavera, and here, it was actually with all these hundreds of guys that came from the mines, because they were wanting to be miners, because in the reality, they have never been miners, because the mines don't have any space anymore. Mm-hmm. And I obviously thought that these scenes were very important and had to be filmed. This is in 2018. Mm-hmm. And actually what they happened was very sad, because they have been kicked out from the city with the militaries and they never get the job. But mm-hmm. I decided to make some scenes with them without knowing if I was going to use this or had any relation with She-Wolf at that time, that I was thinking in the other character, Max, not knowing that I was going to introduce the same character again. But the things that happened let me understood that I had to do that, because for me, cinema is a document and not only a fiction. And what was interesting for me from this kind of methodology of is that some people that saw the movie told me, like, this is a docu-fiction, no? But I thought, no, it's the opposite. It's like, it's through documentary, I'm building a fiction.
There is something that I would like to go back to, the idea of the poetry of a city, La Paz in this case, and the way that you have decided to start from the very beginning from about a panoramic shot, and then little by little there is movement, traveling toward the left, toward the right, and then what is going on in terms of the sound, not only in terms of the visual aspect. Could you talk a little bit about the notion of the shot scale, and plus the how you conceive during the whole film the sound of the film, because it's also something extremely important in the film?
Well, in 2015, I made a short film in Buenos Aires called Nueva Vida, New Life. It was the first time that I was using the zooms. But it was because of a kind of voyeurism, because I was living in the last floor in San Telmo, and I was spying the people all the time. And about doing that exercise, I was thinking very much about the idea of, the optics. The optics, how can they let you get inside something that you're looking in some way from the, very open, wide angle, and then you go in. And when you go in, the things are different, And with this movement of zooming, I really thought very much about the idea of we are, individuals, and at the same time, there is all the people that is surrounding you, and you never kind of know what is there. You don't know that you're immersed there. And from that point, I started to think about that idea, that concept cinematographically, and I wanted to do this idea of the city is one of the characters, and sometimes you're looking from outside, or at the same times I think that this is the point of view of Max, of the wizard, that is like an hermit, that he's outside of the system, and he's trying to get out of the things. I thought very much about this when I wrote the tale of Allan Poe, and I really liked the idea of, you go inside, then you go to the character, and then you get inside the characters, and then is where story and level of the story is happening. But sometimes the movie, it's allowed, because of the form, to get out again, and you go out again, and because for me that was also a way to really make evident the system of the city through cinema.
Can you talk a little bit about the dance sequences and why that kind of music, which is more interesting for me?
Yeah, for me, first I wanted to, in this idea of outside and inside, wanted to tell in the end what is inside of the worker, and in a way try to tell some kind of symbol that it's sometimes very explicit or not, which is he's obviously taking inside of him all the city system. No, that was a bit the idea of the movie. And at the same time, obviously for me, it was impossible not to show the contrasts that even obviously exist actually here now in Bolivia more and more since Evo Morales in 2003, which is like the globalization, but obviously transculturization that is happening through the all, you can say, I don't know, capitalistic way of living with the indigenous thoughts, but at the same time with the colonial things that are in Bolivia, because in Bolivia mainly we have a lot of, and very strong colonial stuff.
Yeah,
and one of the things for me, it's always since Viejo Calavera was very impressive, is that musically we are very affected, and for some reason the Aymaran culture, the Cholitas mainly, and many people in their parties, they love 80s music, specifically this kind of music, not everything.
The character of the wizard, I would like to talk a little bit about that. How do you think you could characterize in terms of, it has a cultural background, it's not a cultural background, what it's been embodied, it's something which is just from the fictional world of yours? How do you explain that?
For me, it's really important to make the movies with my friends, because for me there are some standards of thinking about the capital. Also, for me, it's very contradictory to make cinema in that sense, because I don't have that much money, and the movies are very expensive, and the people that I'm working with obviously don't have money, and there is some contradiction there, no? And at the same time, the idea of making movies with Max or Julio Cesar, for example, is because they are my friends from a long time ago. I mean, I met Max in 2004, actually. And what I like it about him, and why I get close to him, is because he's a very strange character in the real life. He is like a kind of, like, how can I say this? A popular character in the city, we can say. A very strange character, and many people know him. And I became his friend because I wanted to know what a man like him was thinking, no, not about cinema in that times. And we get very closer friends. Like, and he's a very much a card player, also, and he's a wizard. Actually, live, he's like a kind of wizard. He's very, very strange man. And I wanted to do at the beginning a movie about him, but I really didn't understood very much how to represent a man that is outside of the system.
I think the film is such a powerful film to explore that it was necessary. On behalf of Hamburg and on behalf of the cinephiles from Hamburg, the regular audiences, and the people who are behind this festival, we truly, truly thank you for the film, and thank you for being once again with us.
Thank you very much, Roger, and thank you very much to the festival, and thank you.